Greetings, players. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever part of the world you're tuning in from. My name is Creighton, and this is the Kegler's Re-Evolution. Today I want to take time to rant, just for a little while. Today I'm going to discuss the state of bowling here in the United States. Now, this is my opinion, but it's a very aggravated opinion. Either way, you still need to prepare to be enlightened. So what's the problem? Well, first I want to pose a simple question. Is it time to face the fact that the team concept of bowling in the United States has become antiquated? Is it? I mean, after all, the USBOC Open Championships are still team-based, and it's something that bowlers of high levels, all levels, look forward to every year. There's also a showcasing of collegiate talent and high school for that matter, that's strictly based on team bowling. Hey, that answers that question. But for those of us who grew up pre-internet, pre-gaming, pre-bumpers, pre-midnight rock and bowl, like me, the 34-week season is all we really know. But in order for us to recruit new blood and retain new participants to our sport, the old 5-person, 3 games a week for 36-week league approach should be relegated to those who choose that fossilized approach. To continue and retain new blood here in our sport, we must account for the changes that occur in the modern American lifestyle and all those that go along with it. And that's just one of the issues that I have with bowling in the U.S. Another issue I'm talking about is, since the beginning, maintaining the integrity of the sport while recruiting and retaining new participants. As it turns out, the lines between competitive sport bowling and recreational bowling are not defined enough. So what we end up having is a bunch of rec bowlers that join scratch sports leagues and ever so ignorantly shimwreck it for everybody else by either using the wrong ball on the pattern or playing the lanes the wrong way. There's also a plethora of league bowlers that average between 230 and 240 and think they can beat anyone at any given time for any amount of money. Here's a check for you. If you find yourself averaging 230 and 240 and you go to your local association tournament or your local state tournament or even national tournaments and struggle to average 190, there's a reason for that. Your game is suspect. Suspect. You're not as good as you think you are. Bowling on adult bumpers where the lanes are set up so you funnel your $250 hook in a box sponge to the hole every time. Conversely, there are bowling purists with antiquated views of how the game should be played, complaining about the innovations that have destroyed the integrity of the sport, when in actuality, it's made the sport more complex and more complicated, but not necessarily destroyed the integrity of it. And many upper level players that don't care one way or another, just as long as they can get to the next tournament. So they have no opinion one way or another. So this is why it seems like a lot of groups of players have just been divided among these issues. Another issue I have, the perception of bowling in the U.S. Many of the reasons the PBA and women's bowling is falling by the wayside is a perception of bowling. It's the #1 recreational participation sport in America, but generates little to no interest in showcasing the highest talent on a national stage. Unlike many countries in Europe, in Asia, and the Middle East that perceive bowling the same way we see golf or football or basketball in a big famous light, all-star celebrity status type thing. Well, how does that work? Well, basically interest brings viewers. Viewers bring sponsorships, and sponsorships bring higher prize funds. The higher prize funds brings more participants. The governing bodies have dropped the ball on this over the past decade, in my opinion, to present bowling in a sponsor-friendly spectacle of talent. So, what do I pose? More knowledge and education of the sport will go a long way in not only changing the perception of our sport, but also alleviate many of the issues that I put forth in this post already. So the take home is this. No one is serious about serious bowling because it's always portrayed and perceived as a recreational fun sport in this country. It's up to the serious bowlers and coaches to provide the masses of this country with the knowledge and skills necessary to compete in a sport of bowling at each and every level. That's important. Where else am I going? Well, so who's to blame for all these shenanigans? Who's responsible for the stunted growth of our beloved sport? Can we blame the governing bodies of our sport? Well, the solution came when all the alphabets kind of joined together and formed the USBC a while back. That was definitely a step in the right direction. But what we also have is the BPAA representing the proprietors and IPSHA representing the pro shops, and Kegel doing a lot of the lane stuff, pretty much manipulation of the lane stuff in this country. And it seems that there's not really, while they have a vested interest in their members, it seems like it plays the distant, or the distant second is the vested interest in growing our sport as a whole. So they're constantly fighting each other. Can we place blame on the proprietors? Well, they can assume some of the responsibility for putting out easy walled-up shots on conditions for league every week. But as business owners, their vested interest is their bottom line. Scoring bowlers are happy bowlers, and happy bowlers equal increased revenue due to lineage from retained bowlers and from bar patrons. So, can we really blame them? Can we place the blame on pro shops? They can assume some of the responsibility. They're trying to sell nuggets. That's what they do. Some do it responsibly by providing knowledge and information for the players about the nuggets they want or need to purchase for the matchups they want. Others just sell the nuggets, and that's my Shim Records rant. You can see about those later. Knowledge of ball reactions, layouts, player styles, and lane conditions takes a concerted effort by pro shops, coaches, proprietors, and the governing bodies working together to maintain the integrity of the sport as a whole, as well as serving the vested interests of their members. So in an effort to grow the sport of bowling, I feel that the starting point should be communication and information. Communication between the proprietors and governing bodies to find an ideal balance between maintaining the integrity of the sport while maintaining the owner's bottom line. I realize this is a very, very dynamic issue, and everybody's situation is different, so not one solution will fit all. But striving towards this goal will go a long way into alleviating some of the aforementioned situations. But go further into to help define the lanes. Excuse me, what does this say? But go further into helping define the lines between recreational and sport bowling. That's important. That's one of the main keys that need to be addressed, is those lines between competitive sport bowling and recreational bowling. Make the tiers more defined between levels of recreational bowling and serious sport bowling. The sport bowling program does help, but like you said, with that needs to come information from the proprietors on where to play the lanes, and information from the governing body on how to attack the lanes. I'm sure the governing USBC provides that information, but it's up to proprietors to be able to provide that information to the players that are in the league. And a lot of proprietors don't do that, or don't seem to necessarily do that. There seems to be a ray of hope in the near future with the advent of the Global Pro Tour and a crop of high school and collegiate players that didn't grow up bowling on typical house walled-up patterns. There still exists a lot of rec bowlers with this invincible league mentality, though. So, and also the communication between pro shops and the players. Pro shop owners that are responsible in keeping the integrity of the sport while selling the newest, latest $250 nuggets to keep his or her doors open for business. Things like the importance of surface prep and maintenance, cover core matchups with conditions, lay out matchups with the player style, and an accurate assessment of ball reaction that the player is looking for. These are all very important issues that must be communicated between the pro shop owner and the player that's getting fitted for the equipment. I can't emphasize that enough. Just way too many instances. You can see my Shim Records rants on all of that. I voice my opinions on that. So that's how that goes. We'll talk about it. You have been officially enlightened.